introduction, first of all, was just like, yeah. So me and Joe have known each other since school, really, George. So it's we've known each other for years. Over the last few years, we've gone through like our struggles together. So we came together as like mates, and different situations. Mine was like relationship breakdown. He had like trouble with his family. Didn't you? A bereavement as well, Joe, within the family. And we've always like come together and spoke about things. And the reason the group that Joe created was basically just to help men open up with the struggles and anxiety, stresses, strains, everything throughout life, basically. So that was the reason why Joe created the group. And Joe's like, mental health. What's the title of the official title now, Joe?
Yeah.
Himself.
So I'm still an occupational therapist, obviously. So I'm obviously I'm an occupational therapist. I've worked within the NHS and like local authority for 10 years. I've worked in both physical and a mental health type setting. And obviously I'm a private practitioner, and I specialize in have you heard of cognitive behavioral therapy?
Okay.
So CBT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I do some exposure therapy, do a little bit of neuroplasticity therapy now. So I suffered with health anxiety for years, and I'd generalized health anxiety disorder. So now my role, obviously, as Johnny's pointed out before, I've set the men's mental health group up, just to take the stigma away from men. It's not weak to open up, and that it's a bit of a safe place for them as well. But I do actually do therapy with women as well, so it's not just men. But obviously, we trying to keep the men's group kind of on its own, so it's that place there for men to open up, and obviously they can come to me and Johnny with any questions. So yeah, obviously predominantly I'm helping people overcome health anxiety and sort of manage their generalized anxieties, really. So that's kind of where I fit in with things.
That's really good.
Yeah, cheers.
I've just like sort of come in on that. It was like to help. Is it 3 years ago we did the ACT course?
Yeah,
now
about
as well.
3 years ago we did training for ACT.
Commitment therapy. Yeah, so that was like an interest, and since then we've just it's grown, hasn't it, for yourself? You've gone on to do more things, and I've always had an interest in that, with helping people out close to me, and people have always like seeked out advice as well on certain things. So it's it's always something that I'm always willing to offer help to people, and we felt that just keeping it to men, it's something that we can relate to, really, because we feel that as men ourselves, sometimes you don't want to open up, and it's just breaking that barrier, really. Yeah. So the reason why I asked George, which I mentioned to George, like, what this guy is doing is unbelievable. So yeah, just to take it onto George now on his journey and what he's been through, really.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, fire away, George. Yeah.
Yeah. So with running, started it about 3.5 years ago, nearly. Started. I've always done sports and been active. I've not always been in the shape I've been now or the conditions, so people won't know. So I do a lot of ultra running now. I've done marathons. I've done up to 100 miles and training for one at the end of September.
Awesome.
So it is on the extreme end, but it's something I've just kind of fell in love with and gone from strength to strength with. I started it back around 3 and a bit years ago. I wouldn't say it was at a low point when I started it. I have been at low points throughout life. You do have them points in life, like you've mentioned, when you've had a bereavement or you've had an issue with a partner or a breakup or a family situation. But I wasn't particularly at a low point. But there were things I've noticed that have drastically improved since I've got into running. So started about 3.5 years ago. It's a very random story. I'll try and keep it concise, but we were doing some charity work in Gambia. So it's my girlfriend, a couple of our friends who went over. It was a holiday as well, I'll be honest. It wasn't just charity work, it was a holiday, but we had raised some money for some school kids over there. So my girlfriend and her friend Hayley had been before, and they kind of met these boys who are on the beach while they're on the holiday, and they wanted to raise some money for them because they found out they couldn't go to school or afford an education. The things that we take granted for here in the UK, it's a very different world out there. It's a developing country with a poor economy. So they kind of started doing fundraising for it, and they were like, "Do you want to get involved?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I used to do rowing as a sport, so I did a little rowing challenge, but I wasn't like what I am now, my running. But we went over there, flew over. Met someone on the flight who was a really avid runner, and he was training some of the Gambian athletes out there.
Wow.
So we were having some drinks on the plane. It's like a 5-hour flight, so the killer time. We just got chatting to him. He's a really interesting guy, and he was like, "You should come down and do a run with us." And at first, we were all a bit like, "I don't know about that. We don't really know you, and we're not runners." But then we were like, "What the heck? What have we got to lose?" So he wasn't from Gambia, by the way. He was a Brummie lad, but he trains the Gambians out there. So we ended up meeting him one of the days on the holiday. We did a run. It was just a 5-kilometre run, a gentle run, just like you would do at a run club. We met some of the athletes, and they were like serious runners. Some of them were training for the Commonwealth Games, just to give you some context, but they were like some of the nicest, most humble people I've ever met. The idea was just to get us into the running, and they're asking if we could make any donations with like running trainers if possible and get them over for the athletes, just because of what I mentioned with the economy, they don't get the best funding out there. So we said we'd do that, which we have done since, and they also kind of said, keep up the running, sign up to a 10-kilometre run, see how you get on. And I was like, yeah, go on, why not? So I got back to the UK. I was quite a bit heavier than I am now. I wouldn't say I was like overweight, but I wasn't a runner by any means. If you'd met me back then, I looked more like a rugby player, but I was like, oh, why not? Sign up for a 10K. I did run an Alderley Edge. I think I got about 52 minutes in that. I did like some 5K runs to train for it. And this is where it probably gets a bit more interesting. Then I was kind of like, actually, you know what? I really enjoyed that. And I wanted to kind of push it. And I kind of started listening to podcasts about marathons and ultras and reading into it. And basically I fell into a giant rabbit hole with it. But yeah, I think there was a run for me. It was a really important run. It was... sounds really silly, but I remember the exact day I did the run, and it was May the 9th, 2022. And Johnny will know this route. The Mersey Trail we run on the first day from Manchester. I just decided one day I wanted to do a half marathon and see how I get on. I wasn't in any condition to do one back then. But basically we were doing like a mental health steps challenge for work that week for Mind Charity, if you know them.
Yeah.
Really good charity. My work's partnered with them. They do loads of really good workshops. So I was like, why not? Let's do a half marathon. I didn't even have running shoes back then, honestly. I had just some like gym trainers. I put them on, and I must have stopped about 10 times. It took me like 2 hours and 40 minutes. And but I don't know what it was. You think that sounds awful. The next day it was hurting to walk. I think I rolled over my ankle a bit. I was really struggling, but it was weird at the same time. I kind of loved it. It was kind of like, I liked that challenge and that struggle. And it was like, even though my body just wasn't up for the challenge, my mind was like, keep going, have a break for 30 seconds and go again, and then go again. And I got it done. Honestly, at the time, I felt like I'd climbed up Mount Everest. I was just like ecstatic. I felt like this like massive achievement. There wasn't any medal. There wasn't a roaring crowd. It was just me on my own plodding down this trail, looking like I was probably lost or something. Probably got some funny looks on the way, like, why is he stopping and starting? He's like, is he all right? But yeah, I got it done. And I think that's what kind of planted the seed for what got me into these more serious ultra marathons that I do now. I think I kind of like the challenge and the struggle, and there's like a sense of adventure as well when you do these things. It gets you out of your comfort zone, that's for sure. And I think that's why a lot of people are getting into running now. It's, you know, it's a way to challenge yourself, but it's such a simple thing to do when you think about it. You're just putting one foot in front of the other. It's not like a technical sport that, you know, anyone obviously who hasn't got a disability or any like medical condition can go out there and run. It's an accessible sport. As long as you've got a pair of trainers, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But from there, it kind of just escalated. And over the years, I've just signed up to marathons and ultras. And, you know, I mentioned, just for context, I had to stop about 10 times to do a half marathon. Now I can do a sub-3 marathon. I've done these big ultra events, and I've just done a 100-kilometer run in the end of June and finished 7th place out of about 400 people. So, you know, the change from 3 years ago to now is crazy. And if you told me what I'd done now 3 years ago, I probably would have laughed at you. I've gone like, yeah, right. But, you know, it's just, it is crazy. I get a lot, you know, I was speaking to people about work today, and they can't comprehend it. They're like, why do you do it? It's crazy. So much time and so much commitment. But I do have my reasons as well. But yeah, that's a very short, condensed version of my story. Yeah, so far anyway.
Sounds like you get a right buzz from it.
Yeah, really do. It's just, you know, run as high is genuinely a thing. It's, you know, it's clinically proven. It's, you know, you get out there. I've had some, you know, I won't say I suffer with anything like depression. You know, I do have anxiety. I do have stresses, but I could have a bad day at work, or, you know, I've had an argument or a row, or just sometimes you just wake up and you don't have a good day. It might not even be a reason. You just feel low.
Yeah.
And go out and you do a run. It's like someone flicks a switch. I finish the run and I'm like, what was I worried about? Why was I stressed? You know, it does completely change.
You can do the work. Yeah, you can do the work after the run because you've done the run. It's like a natural antidepressant, isn't it? You've done your run. Your head's clearer, so you can go, why did I wait? You know, I didn't need to worry about X, Y, and Z this morning, did I? But you know, it's there. You've allowed it, and it's moved on. It's passed.
You know, I think there's nothing wrong with taking medication when you struggle with mental health.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah.
By a professional, by all means. Everyone, you know, if they need that, that's great. But I just honestly, whether it's to do this before or to go alongside it, exercise is such a powerful tool to help your mental health. And I think we live in such a society now where we're not built for sitting in an office desk all day as a human species. We're built to be active, you know, we're built to be in our feet. And I think we live such a lot of people, and not all people, of course, but a lot of people live quite a sedentary lifestyle without realising, you know, you get up out of bed, you drive to work, you sit in a desk 8 hours a day, you drive back home, you spend most of your day sat down, then you get home, and obviously if you've got kids, and you make sure you spend some time with the kids, and then you sit down, you watch Netflix, and then you go to bed. If you think about it, there's not a lot of time in the day where people are actually up and moving.
There isn't. There isn't. Movement's key, as you say. You know, movement is key to an anxiety recovery as well. And you know, like you said, a lot of people are sedentary these days, and you know, a lot of people work from home. You know, like you said there, they'll stare at screens. You know, they might finish work, they'll have the dinner, then they might watch Netflix for the rest of the night. But the brain's still in overdrive. They've not given the brain a rest. So, and then they wake up, they're more fatigued. The next day, they're more tired. Go on, Johnny.
Yeah, definitely. To add to that, a lot of things now, it's just everything's made easy for us. So less movement is required.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to force yourself and go, do you know what? I need to move, like regular breaks. I do it now, which I've said to Joe many a time now. Just get out from my desk, go and move, and go and do something. I know, like, you're a big advocate of that now, Joe, aren't you? Just like,
yeah, I mean, I've done
moving.
I'm going to go and do a 5K. I've got another meeting after this one, and then I've done 7,500 steps today. I was up before work. I have my cold shower every morning for a few minutes. I meditate. Make sure I like my breakfast early now, and then I'll go and have a little walk around the block. I do that now. That's my routine every morning. You know, I'll train. I do push-pull legs in the gym 3 times a week. I do a Krav Maga class, and I'll do 2 5Ks. My rest day, I might not exert myself, it might consist of me getting 10,000 steps in that day. That's my typical rest day.
You're making me tired just hearing that, but
you know, I enjoy that. I enjoy that. You know, I don't watch as much television during the week as I used to do, just because I think I work from home as well, and you know, I'm looking at my laptop for big portions of the day, so I'm like, I don't really need to watch anything tonight. It can wait. I can watch it the weekend. I like your phone as well. The amount of times we look at our phones, it's like, you know, sound a bit zen here, but sometimes, you know, if I don't see my missus all day, it's nice to have dinner and just have a bit of a catch up rather than sitting in front of the television.
That's it.
You know? 100%. You know, like, it's so easily done now. Like, me and my girlfriend are guilty of it. Like, sometimes we'll just sat down together and then we just go on our phones and we doom scroll for like half an hour. And I think she said it last night. She went, "Oh, we've just ended up doom scrolling. Why have we done that?" And just, it's so easy to trap. And I still do it. Don't get me wrong.
I do it now and again. I'm not. You know, I'm guilty of that as well.
I think what I do is I get the train to work most because I'm hybrid. I'm in the office some days, I'm others. But when I'm heading into the office, I'll be on the train. And sometimes I'll be on my phone and I'll pause. I do it now and again, and I just think, look how many people are on the phones. And you look up, and it could be a really nice day. You're just passing by. Everyone's like that. Everyone's glued to phones. And there's nothing wrong with going on your phone now and again. I'm not like demonizing it, but I think people just get caught up with so many things, you know, whether it's too sedentary, too comfortable, too glued to technology. It's just, I think to be honest, people miss the point, and I go back to why people go, "Wow, why do you do these things?" It's at first, it's probably an element of escapism. I think it's like, there's been times where I have a job now I love my job, but in the past I've not enjoyed my job so much, and I'm not happy with, you know, every aspect of my life. But when I go out on a run, it feels good.
Yeah.
Kind of channeled it into something else now, where it's kind of, you can use it to help you in areas of your life. So, you know, whether it's networking in a work capacity, if someone else runs, it's an easy conversation. If you do well with your running and you're disciplined, then it can help you with work. It can help you in other areas of your life. And, you know, it indirectly helped me get the job I got now, which I love, because I kind of set up a running club through work, and that got me meeting people who would eventually be my boss through the job I do now. And if I hadn't set up that run club, that would have never happened. So, you know, just by going out there and getting out your comfort zone, you don't know what you might end up encountering or achieving through that. So, you know, there is a lot to be said for it.
Yeah, it's kind of, you're exposing yourself to new things. You know, I talk a lot about that in therapy. Like, I had a call with a consultation with someone last week, suffered with health anxiety, and I was talking about the exposure stuff that I do, and they got a bit worried about, because they've got a fear of certain medical conditions. But, you know, some therapists do. It's not a bad thing being exposed to your fears, whether it's around a medical condition, because you don't want to fear that. You want to live your life to the fullest daily. But the way I do my exposure therapy is, I said to them, for example, you know, we could look at exercise, for example. You know, you've got health anxiety, but you've been withdrawing from exercise. Could be running, it could be in the gym, could be any form of exercise, but you've become scared of these sensations that your anxiety is giving you. So what I tend to mean by exposure therapy is, you know, exposing yourself back into that uncomfortable feeling of training again, but understanding why you're training, what's the purpose behind training. You're not doing it because you want to fix yourself. You do the training because it's something that you love. It's something that you enjoy. You feel good after it, you know. And it's normal to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to feel more uncomfortable if you've not done it for a while. So that's the kind of exposure work I do. But like you said, exposing yourself to new situations is very important as well.
I agree, absolutely. You know, it's very cliche, but people like you go in and out of the gym or running, and let's say you've been going to the gym consistently for 3 months and they don't go for 6 months, and they go, I loved it when I was in the gym, but I've just not been for so long. I need to get back. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part's not lifting the weights. It's just once you get there and you feel good, you want to go again. But it's just that part of going through the door in the first place, or if you're running, putting your shoes on, or whatever the exercise sport may be. I think I've just never really dropped out of it though. I've just, ever since I've gotten to running anyway, I am definitely obsessive with it. I think, you hear words addiction and obsession. I'll probably go more of obsession for this, but I don't think obsession is necessarily a bad thing for some people.
No.
Some people they have an obsessive nature about them or a personality. I definitely get it from my dad. My dad's the exact same, cut from the same cloth in that aspect. So I can diagnose why I'm obsessive, but with just these, he trains every day of the week, and he's 68 now. He's done loads of sports. He was a kickboxer, a bodybuilder. He played rugby. He's like, they're very similar in that way. But, I'm like that with my running and my gym now. But yes, it is obsessive. If someone tries to say, oh, if I doing that, it's obsessive, I won't deny it. It absolutely is. But, some people need that in their life. It's better to have a healthy obsession than no obsession, and then you just really struggle with your mental health and you have a plunge, or you put that obsession into something that's not healthy, like, let's say, gambling or alcohol or drugs, So I'm not an obsession with them things, luckily, but for me, when it comes to exercise, I do have that nature. But, I channel it in a good way and I've done good things with it. Yes, it's very time consuming, and a lot of people don't understand it because it's not normal. But when things aren't normal, people aren't going to understand them because they can't relate to that. People who do it can relate to it. So they get it. They're like, I get why you do it, but not everyone is going to get it. So when people ask me that question, how do you do that, or why do you do that? It's just, that's my, I guess, one, it's my release. Two, I like to set goals and challenge myself. It's a good way to keep yourself disciplined.
Yeah.
And it's just, when I could do a lot of trail running now, especially in the summer when you're out in the Peak District, it's 10 times better than sitting down and watching Netflix. I don't care who says what. That for me is just, that's for me, when it comes to my me time, that's what I love to do more than anything else when I'm on my own.
Yeah, it's more enjoyable if you've earned it, haven't you? You've earned that rest then.
Yeah. I was listening to an audio book. I've still not finished it. When it comes to anything like that, it takes me years. But I was listening to it, and it's called Flow. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's about that kind of flow state when you're just present in the moment. And a lot of people aren't present in the moment because they're worried about something that's been or something that's coming. When you're in that flow state, whether it's running or you're doing something creative like art or music, if you're in that flow state, it's just the best place to be in. And you can, when you're running, it's kind of like, you may have experienced it when you feel like you can keep going and you can keep going. Your body just feels painless. You're just really focused. But I was listening to the audiobook, and they were saying, the best sense of endorphins is when you achieve something through doing something tough. When you've done something tough, even though it's struggle, and it doesn't necessarily feel great at the time. Because when I do these ultramarathons, there's points where you're struggling, you're feeling low, but then once you get past that and you overcome that, whether it gets to the next stage or actually completing the event, the sense of reward is so gratifying, and it's such a good thing for your mental health. So, it's
good. But you're building up a stress resilience as well by doing it.
Yeah,
you're more relaxed about stressful situations when you do encounter them. Then.
Absolutely. In a general perspective, I think there's definitely a bit more get up and go about me. I'm not as lazy. I was quite a lazy kid. I was a lazy adult when I was like probably 18 to 23, especially. I'd say I was like to lie in really late, going out all the time, drinking. And look, most people do that at that age. But I probably didn't like myself that much back then. I was just doing what everyone else was doing. But when I've kind of found these sports, like it was rowing at first and then running, it's just kind of, I'm a lot more content with who I am, and I enjoy my time. I'm not just doing things because I'm trying to fit in. I'm doing it because I actually enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a drink with my friends and my girlfriend and my family. I do. I'm not saying don't drink or go out, but I just do it in a lot more moderation now. Or when I'm training for an event like the one I'm doing next month, I'll cut out the booze, and then, after the event, then I'll enjoy myself a bit more.
It's good because you're doing it mindfully, aren't you? You know, there's a purpose behind everything. If you go out and have a drink, you know, you're doing it as a celebration, not because it's a necessity and you have to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I could be wrong with this, but I was reading something. It's like, I don't know if it's endorphins or dopamine. You feel free to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think alcohol is the only way you can get one or the other without actually having to earn it.
Yeah.
Like exercise, you earn that dopamine or them endorphins. With alcohol, you can just get a beer, and that's why it's
Quick hit.
So easily.
You get addicted.
Sorry, say it again.
It can be addictive.
Yeah,
alcohol.
Yeah, no, I'd say it can be very addictive, and you know, myself and Joey spoke to people in the past, and they get in them sort of loops of addiction with drink, drugs, and stuff, and it's hard for people to get out of that loop. Do you know what I mean? You know, I've been lucky where, you know, I've not fell into any of them really. Probably had a bit of a wobble when I broke up with my ex-partner a few years ago, and you know, a little bit, you know, drink, like you say, partying, but not to the extent of where it affects your daily life, you know, in work and out of work. But going back to what you were saying about running, like I picked up running, you know, through lockdown, and then I was at a previous run club before, obviously met you, the current one now. And I found that's just took me on leaps and bounds in and out of, you know, running, just in life, like you say. So it's just amazing to hear how you've come from where you were to like here now and doing ultra marathons. It's just, that's like mega. So whoever's watching it will be like, you know, you can start there and then you can progress to there. Whereas people will just look at that now, won't they, and just see the end result. But you've done a lot of work before that.
If you're mobile, yeah, you can do anything.
Yeah, I think, and ultra marathons especially, it's a lot more mind than body. To someone who doesn't do that, it'll probably sound ridiculous almost, because you're like, well, it's the most physical thing you can probably possibly do. But like, you can only, like, if you're training for, like, let's say a marathon, as long as you run more distance per week than the actual marathon distance. Let's say you're running 60 or 80 kilometers a week to train, and the marathon's 42 kilometers, then you're in a good position. With a, let's say, 100 or 200 miler, you're not necessarily going to run 100 or 200 miles a week. You are going to run less because it's very hard to achieve that. But that kind of proves, like, even though you're not doing as much training to match that distance, people are still getting it done all over the world. And that's just because when it gets tough, when you think your body's done, you keep pushing. It's kind of David Goggins it can be controversial. I don't agree with everything he says, but you know, there's things I take from which I think are really good. And he always says, when you think you've got an extra 40%. I don't know why it's 40%. It's what he says. But when I did my first 100 miler, there's a few times I thought I wanted to throw my hat down and I was done, and I wasn't. And I think it was about 120 kilometers, and then I was nearly done. And I had some words of encouragement from my girlfriend who was cheering me on, and then something happened like a switch when I just cracked, and I got tunnel vision and I got it done. So it is it's not just a physical test, it's a real mental test. But if you can climb the other side of that mental test, you can be like, well, I can do this, I can do anything, you know. If you're having a bad day at work, week at work, and you're like, oh, I want to call in sick, it's like, well, I've got through this, let's get through this. You know, it kind of gives you that resilience to
come. Pedestal, yeah. Built, like you said, it builds up good resilience, that's because you can kind of compare and contrast things, can't you?
Yeah. And it is abnormal, it's excessive and it's obsessive. I've got to say it for what it is, but if you can achieve that, it does give you kind of armor in life, and it can take you to places where I wouldn't have been able to go before, or I didn't think I was capable of. And with running as well, you know, Johnny and me will know this through our run club we go to, but there's a real sense of community, and you know, if you want to talk to people, you've got that opportunity, whether it's about your mental health or just having a good catch up, which can, you know, turn someone's bad day into a good day. So there's a real sense of togetherness as well, and ultras are like that as well. They're when you do a road race like a marathon, a half, or a 10K, everyone's not really talking. They're trying to get a time, or they're trying to finish. Whilst with ultras, there's a much slower pace to them. because you're going so much further distance-wise. But there's a real people always checking each other. They're always chatting to each other. You get to know people. It's just a real sense of community, and it's just a real boost when you're doing them things, because you don't have that. It's not as lonely as you think, because you meet these people and you get talking to them, and through that you can make friends for life. So it is an amazing thing to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's for people out there, if they are struggling, it's, you know, there's always groups out there and communities out there, and, you know, an interest. Get out there, you know, go and have a look at it, because you don't know where it could lead at the end of the day.
Find a hobby, yeah.
So,
it's really important. Doesn't matter what it is.
I just say you've got nothing to lose. You know, it'd be scary. And you might feel embarrassing, but just go and do it. What have you got to lose? Nothing bad's going to happen.
This is it. I started Krav Maga about 2 months ago, and I'll hold my hands up and say that I was nervous about doing it and anxious about doing it, but I thought, you know, I wanted to try something a bit different, to expose myself to something a bit different, you know, and I've never done anything like that. Well, I did stuff like that when I was a kid, but only for a few months. And I remember the first session I turned up for, I got in my car and went home again. So I didn't even go. I turned up and I was that anxious about going in. I got back in my car and drove home. But then I went, I did a lot of work on myself during the week, and you know, I talked to myself about why I want to go and what's the purpose behind it. You know, I'm going because I want to try something new, meet some new people. You know, try something new and enjoy it. It's good for your mind and body. You know, and then it's gone from there. Really enjoy it now. But it's just taking part. That first time's the hardest thing.
It is. You feel so awkward and out of place. But like once you do it, you know, even if the first time you do it might be a bit, because you're so anxious, it feels a bit uncomfortable. Eventually, you'll keep going and you'll enjoy it, and you'll feel alive when you're doing it. You know, how often do people feel alive in this day and age? I think, like going back to me saying live a sedentary lifestyle, people aren't. I feel like a lot of people are just existing; they're not living. And if you just you're getting up, you're doing your job, you're going home, and each you're happy doing that, and you feel good doing that. I'm not knocking it, but for myself and some other people, you know, I'd struggle with that. I feel like I need something to like get me out of my comfort zone, because when you really get out of your comfort zone, like what you said, getting out of the car and doing that, that's when you really feel alive and you remember that stuff. You know, there's a reason I remember May the 9th doing a half marathon on my own, looking like an idiot. It's because I got out of my comfort zone and I did something I'd never done before, I've done much bigger runs since. I've become a much better runner or athlete, but for me, that run is the most important run I've ever done, and I'll never forget it. That's why I remember it the date.
That's good. And then you can look back on that and you can be like, right, well, I've achieved this. I can achieve anything.
Yeah. No, you know, you can really you're like, I didn't think I could do that, so what's stopping me from doing that? And obviously that's when it does become addictive, because then you're like,
yeah, I'm a bit like that.
You're not
got no limits.
I think the three of us have got a bit of an addictive personality. We round it up there, guys. That was really good.
Yeah, we'll do. No, thanks a lot for joining us, George. Enjoyed that.
Thanks, George. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
We'll pop that on the social. Is that all right?
Well, yeah. Is that okay, George? We'll share that, and I'll ask Josh as well at the Run Club, and we'll get everyone sharing it.
That's
Happy
great.
days.
Cheers, guys.
I think we might be off to the gym now as well with George.
I'm going to do a 5K in a minute. Half an hour off to do my 5K.